time now to hear from Kees of Universitas Indonesia with Agromet Vision Depok, Indonesia. He's speaking on the topic, Adaptation to Climate Change is Climate Smart Agriculture, Training Farmers and Trainers on Java and Lombok. And his work is done jointly with Yunita, WINARTO. And we are ready to begin.
Adaptation to climate change is climate smart agriculture. And we will be talking about that in the context of training farmers and trainers on the islands of Java and Lombok in Indonesia. I first go through the three climate crises that we can distinguish in the livelihood of Indonesian farmers. The first series are what you may call policy insufficiencies regarding policies of the Dutch government, of the Indonesian government. Indonesia should get away from self-sufficiency in rice. That's already for maybe 20 years what scientists and farmers try to tell the Indonesian government, that they want to be self-sufficient in rice, whatever the population grows. We think that's a policy insufficiency. Then the irrigation infrastructure has not been timely maintained and improved. In fact, it is very largely still from the Dutch colonial times. That is another policy insufficiency that has a serious influence of water availability even without climate change. Then there are other infrastructures like roads, bridges, coastal defense plantings and structures. They are far from up to date apart from a few main roads. And this is causing problems of coastal erosion, seawater intrusion, market underdevelopment and difficult to access, food insecurity, etc. And the final policy sufficiency is an issue that is coming back today for several times, and that is the extension services do badly function. So climate change will worsen all these issues. So the longer government waits, the more crucial do these infrastructural insufficiencies become. The second crisis is a pure rice crisis. Rice is an endangered crop, and all Indonesian researchers agree here. Higher temperatures at night, in daytime, and on average, but particularly the ones at night, already decrease rice yields of the higher temperatures are endangering already now the rice growth. Present varieties are suffering in many places, also in Indonesia. A second issue under this rice crisis is that new heat-resistant rice varieties will take at least another maybe 10 years to develop and to be introduced. And finally, as a rice crisis, the management of rice pests, fertilizers, water and soils leaves much to be desired and is sometimes particularly wrong because well-trained extension is virtually absent and wrongly trained and informed. And so the third crisis indeed, after the policy insufficiencies and the rice crisis, is the extension crisis. It is due to a badly operating extension regarding policy, regarding practices on rice growth under conditions of a changing climate, wherever they function. They are all badly trained and wrongly trained. We have, over the past 8 years, tried to develop an alternative to this bad situation. And at the request of our farmers, we have called that method science field shops. not schools. The farmers said we do not want to go to school again. And in the shops, the farmers are shopping for knowledge that we co-create in their fields to improve their resilience to climate change. You may say we sell climate literacy. We have no curricula for knowledge exchange, but we have long dialogues with farmers, with farmer facilitators, and in the training of trainers. Facilitators are farmers selected by the farmers themselves for guidance in understanding the new knowledge and co-creating new knowledge in the field. Now, for implementation of climate change adaptation in the communities in Indomayu, the farmers who are members of the Indomayu Rainfall Observers Club, with them a new extension approach was designed and carefully further developed while establishing it. The design was based on the existing climate crisis, as I have explained, and the observations that we discuss in the monthly evaluation meetings that we have called science field shops. The next slide shows such science field shops, farmers listening to another farmer, and in this case comparing yields at the end of the growing season and trying to find out where the differences come from between farmers, between fields, between yields, between seasons. Finally, what we actually do may be summarized in that we create and establish with the farmers climate services for agriculture in adaptation to climate change, and that leads to climate smart agriculture discussed in the science field shops. Apart from the climate literacy, there are 7 services that we establish with the farmers and that we discuss each time we meet them monthly in the science field shops, and they bring up their problems and we try to get to solutions. Those 7 services are, firstly, we are guiding daily rainfall measurement that the farmers make on their own plot. Secondly, we guide making agroecological observations daily. Thirdly, we guide to get during the growing season into some yield predictions, and in the end, in what I just explained with the picture slide, into yield comparisons. Then this must be made functionally working in the science field shops, and that is something that we also expressively discuss. Then we are delivering monthly seasonal rainfall scenarios in which we indicate what the prediction for the next month is and how there is a somewhat less accurate continuation in the next 2 months, but it is monthly updated and it shows what they can expect from the rainfall in the next month to the best of our knowledge. Then we see extension as bringing new knowledge to farmers, so they can bring to us questions all the time. But what is most important, with that knowledge, we co-create new knowledge with the farmers in their fields related to their farming problems. And finally, we have got the establishment of farmer field experiments in which we guide, again, as a service to agriculture, a climate service to agriculture, that they can do experiments in their own fields. For example, comparing varieties, comparing soils, comparing water management, comparing fertilizer management, pesticide management. And these things, of course, are essential because a lot is unknown and unclear in these issues. And doing field experiments, making the farmers researchers by themselves, indicates how far the solutions that we discuss also work in practice. And those 7 services have all strong adaptation to climate components in climate smart agriculture. And there are 2 last slides. They are pictures of rain gauges in the field. The first one, you can see it above rice that is already growing for quite some time. And the very last picture is a rain gauge daily measured by all farmers in water in which, to the left-hand side, already the beet is planted, and the right side is still empty and will be planted the next day. And what I see from that picture is how horizontal the rain gauge actually is. If you see it with the line of the rice bench that you see behind it. This is what I wanted to, together with Professor Yunita WINARTO, who is my counterpart in Indonesia, together we have developed this methodology in this way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kees. All right, I'd like to invite you to open your microphone, and our first question for you comes from Luca, HEEB. Are SFS run by public extension staff? So Professor Kees, if you could open your microphone, maybe I'll try.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. So the first question is, are SFS
I feel
run
that
by public extension?
Sorry, can you repeat the last sentence? Okay, I'll take this first question, whether they are run by public extension staff, and the answer, in fact, is no. There is a serious problem, as I have indicated twice in the paper, with the insufficiency of government policies with respect to organizing public extension, and whatever is organized is suffering from these problems that none of the public extension staff has ever been trained what it means to farm under conditions of a changing climate. And when that is the case, then whatever practical extension does still exist is outdated and does not measure the needs of the farmers. And that is why a private initiative as ours with the science field shops plays an important role to hopefully be able to renew the extension approach in Indonesia in the long term.
Thank you for that. We're ready for the next question. What is the biggest challenge you face with rice? If you could unmute, please, and respond to question 2. What is the biggest challenge you face with rice?
Yeah, I saw it. I believe that I have to take that answer first in what you could may say grosso modo. Our biggest challenge, in fact, is to keep rice yields what they are at present. With the changing climate, there are reductions in rice yield already measured in quite a number of fields all over the world in controlled experiment. And we may be happy if with the knowledge that we bring, with what I have explained over the past quarter of an hour, that with that knowledge that the farmers have got, that we will be able to keep the yields what they are, climate change notwithstanding. That, I think, is our greatest challenge. And as a consequence of that situation, it means that it are the extension people that have to be trained again to understand what's going on in climate change and how that affects the situations in farmers' fields. As long as we are not able to train the farmers to train the extension in assisting the farmers that way, we will also not be able to keep these yields at the level where they are at present. And this is a long-term solution to have the training of extension people reorganized and redone in a way that they can become useful again to the farmers concerned.